Welcome to the Dr. Tom Show. Today, I'm very excited to have an extraordinary individual who reached out to be on the show not long ago. We've got a very mutual friend in James Boardman. It's really interesting. The last two people who've been on the show have been connected through James. So obviously doing some good work there, and he's been on the show before. Jenna Holloway is a solution-focused hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner. She's the founder of the Change Your Life program and works with entrepreneurs in high-stress roles to become more resilient, inspired to achieve whatever they put their mind to. Now, Jenna, I'm really excited, quite selfishly, to have you on the show today, because I'm sure what you're going to impart is going to help me. But if we could just start off by telling people, how on earth did you get into this, helping people who are in survival mode?
Thanks, Tom. Good question. So I come from a background of teaching. I was a secondary school teacher for 11 years. And it's a hard job. It's a very hard job, high stress, high pressure, even if everything in your life is, fine and dandy. But add in another life challenge and it makes it very difficult. And I had quite a difficult road with infertility, and eventually was blessed with twins. Went back after maternity leave and, just found it way too much I didn't want to sacrifice my mental health, basically. So I decided I wanted to have a career change. And I knew for quite some time that I wanted to help people more deeply, like teaching, you help people, but I wanted to help people more deeply. So I knew that therapy was the route that I wanted to go down. And it happened quite serendipitously, actually. I got in touch with an old colleague who I knew was trained in life coaching, and asked her about it. And she'd actually, since I'd spoken to her, become a solution-focused hypnotherapist. And lo and behold, was leading a course to train future hypnotherapists. So I signed up there and then, and just found my calling. So this is my life now. It's amazing.
I love it. And you mentioned then, I've not heard the term solution-focused hypnotherapist before. What does that mean?
So hypnotherapy, it helps by reprogramming the subconscious mind, and we can get into that in a bit more in a bit about what that actually means. But solution focused means that whoever I help, we only focus on solutions from the very start. So we never actually need to talk about the problems. Obviously, once a client's decided to work with me and we've discussed what the issues are and we know what we're working with, from the very first session, it is solution focused, only working towards the things that we want to achieve. Because when we're talking about the problems and looking back into the past and trying to, do anything that works with the problem, we can't help but dip into what I call your primitive brain, or survival mode, or your chimp brain. And there's lots of different ways to describe it. I call it the primitive brain, but it's basically not nice. It's not a nice place to be. And that's my aim, is to lift people up out of that into their intellectual mind from that day forward. So it doesn't make any sense to talk about the problem. It doesn't work.
There's music to my ears. Like in private practice, I have a chiropractic office and it's open plan. Like people adjusting on tables next to each other. And the reason is, so we focus on your future, not your problems. Yeah. And Marcos, I just had on the podcast last, stage 4 liver cancer. And he says he gets his diagnosis and all they want to talk about is his terminality, when all he wants to talk about is actually solution. And he's now years down the line having survived.
Your mind can do amazing things if you actually believe that the possibilities are limitless. We put our own ceiling to what we think we're capable of. And there lies a lot of what I do, is raising people's self-belief with hypnotherapy.
And do you know what I love about it? If it can happen for one person, it can happen for many. And you are actually doing that for so many people. So why is survival the thing that gets you going? Like, what is it about this survival mode that people are in? What even is it? How can people identify that they're there?
Good question. I can help all sorts of different issues with hypnotherapy. It's very, very powerful, but I chose to work with people who are stuck in survival mode because it will make the biggest difference to an individual. Because survival mode, the clients, when they come to me, they say things like, I am not enjoying life right now. I am existing rather than living. I just feel like I'm getting through the day, just getting through the day. There's no time for me. I'm not I'm not able to be present. My mind is always racing, all of those kind of things. And there's so many different symptoms of being in survival mode, but essentially there is too much adrenaline running around your body. You're overthinking, you might be procrastinating, you might not be able to prioritize, all sorts of different things. And especially if you've got a business, I've come to learn, and from seeing it with clients, that when you run your own business, any issues that in your life from before that maybe might have seemed minor suddenly feel like they're magnified, especially if you are the face of your business. So if you're running a service where, you know, you're not just selling a product on a shelf, it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. If you've got to show up and, you know, run your business yourself, then your life is so important, because your business reflects your life, I think.
It's so true. And I gotta say, there's a businessman in the States called Tillman, and he talks about being plappy, and it can work for a short period of time. It means play happy. Like, you turn up to work and you really don't want to be happy. But I suppose that's the sign that you maybe need to do a little bit more work on yourself, which is where you come into play. And it's so true. So much of human interaction is not in what we say, but it's just what's not said, and that can be seen through. So the work needs to be done.
So much.
How would people know they're in that survival state?
A good sign is your sleep. Often if you're waking up in the night, or you're waking up too early, like 4 a.m, or struggling to get off to sleep, then there's too much in what I call your stress bucket. If you're not able to, if you feel like you've constantly got to work, like the more effort you put in, the more it's going to result in like that, there's a belief issue there. There's so many different signs, but do you want an answer from a business, like running a business?
I from what you're saying, I totally get it. And I can see several people in my life, and myself at points included, that totally resonate with that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm thinking as soon as you say that? The last thing I want to do when I'm in that survival state is get help and admit that I need to just chill. Like,
And do you know
what
why
do you
that
say
is?
to me?
Because when you are stuck in survival mode, your brain is trying to keep you safe. Listen, your brain's only priority is to keep you alive, because your brain is designed for survival. And so when you are in survival mode, your brain doesn't care. Like, you're not happy, you're not living your best life, because you're in fight or flight constantly. And your brain doesn't care about that, because it's literally just trying to keep you alive from one day to the next. So what you say about not wanting to get help, that's not you on your own there. That is a symptom of being in survival mode, because your brain is trying to keep you safe, it's trying to keep you alive, and getting help and changing for the better is considered a risk in your brain. It doesn't want you to get help. It will try its hardest to keep you staying stuck and as the status quo, because anything different presents a risk. And your brain, when you're in your survival mode, your primitive brain cannot contemplate you doing anything else, because its number one priority is to keep you alive, nothing else.
It's never been said to me like that before, and I really that's really interesting. It just makes so much sense. I assume the work then that people need to do is quite difficult. Is it like, oh, it's fixed, or is it, it's going to be, because I've admittedly years ago did some therapy. What did I do? I can't remember. And I think it was NLP.
Yeah.
But oh my God, the resistance built up, the anger built up, and I really struggled with it.
So yeah, you're right. So the way I speak in my messaging, like on Instagram and however, wherever you see me, I do really try and get it across that my program, like, I don't call myself a miracle worker at all. I'm just a facilitator. So my program's called Change Your Life, and it's a 3-month program, because we are literally rewiring your brain to think differently, to be more different. It's not just about the hypnotherapy, it's about teaching you exactly how your brain works, so you never ever end up in this position again. Because yes, there's subconscious change that needs to happen, like maybe self-worth issues, or self-belief, or issues around money mindset, or scarcity, limiting beliefs, anything. That's all under the surface. Or if you get easily triggered about anything, All of that is subconscious and under the surface. But it's really, really important that you learn conscious things as well, so that you practice, and you are literally rewiring your brain to form good, mentally healthy habits, so that you become more resilient, more positive, and never ever having to come back and work with me again. Like, the point is, it's called Change Your Life, so that you are good to go for the rest of your life. You've learned what you need to do to help yourself when times get hard, and just never ever be back in this place again.
I love that. And again, it's music to my ears, because the only person who can fix anybody is themselves.
Yeah.
And being a facilitator on that journey is so, so powerful.
Yeah.
The world is changing so much, and there's a lot of uncertainty out there. What can some people do maybe to help themselves be resistant to falling into that survival mode, or putting their blinkers on, or making some awkward decisions? What advice have you got for people with that?
So your brain cannot tell the difference between real or imagination. Okay. So whenever you're worrying about something that most of the time is never going to happen, what's happening in your brain is you are experiencing it as if it's really happening. So, and naturally your primitive brain is designed to keep you alive. So it always has to go worst case scenario. That's not your fault. It's automatic. It happens. But when you're thinking worst case scenario and having a problem with overthinking and worrying a lot, you're releasing adrenaline into your body that's not needed, and you're filling up your stress bucket and making stuff so much harder for you. So what you need to do is you need to try and lift yourself up out of survival mode if you can. Some people listening to this are going to be maybe only just in survival mode, and these tips will really, really help, and they'll be able to lift themselves up and cope better. Other people might need a little bit more help if you're really stuck in survival mode. But definitely look after yourself, because whenever pressure or stress or uncertainty goes up, you need to look after yourself more. And I talk about 3 Ps. So anything that come under this category. So you've got positive actions, that is doing things that you enjoy, whether that's exercise, whether that's a hobby, anything comes under that category that you enjoy. Okay, it's not all about work. You've got to enjoy yourself, because when you do, your brain gets the feel-good chemicals that it needs to lift you up. Second one is positive interactions. So staying in touch with people that you care about and love. We need that social interaction. And number 3 is a positive mindset, because every negative thought that you have ends up in your stress bucket. So if you can start to perceive situations more positively, it has a really, really beneficial impact on your mindset and your overall ability to cope. Because perception is everything, Tom. I really, really try and make that come through in my content a lot, because no situation in life is positive or negative. It's just neutral. It's how we respond to it that makes it positive or negative. So you can do a lot yourself to help yourself by seeing the positives and looking for the good and not dwelling. And just doing so much to help your own mindset and your own stress levels, I suppose, because when you know that your brain can't tell the difference between real and imagination, and every time you're fearing the worst, you're making things worse for yourself, it's not good. So it's about lifting yourself up with doing things that you enjoy, and taking time and prioritizing your own needs, especially if you've got a business.
And I suppose, like you talk a lot about there time frames and spending more time maybe in the moment that actually is existing, and not that fear that we've all heard that stands for false evidence appearing real, that unknown that never actually happens anyway. And it's interesting that the positive interactions, which I think is hugely important, and there's these 2 human drives, is significance and connection. Significance and connection is 2 human drives, and they're totally opposite. So the more significant you become, the less connected you are to those around you, because no one ever changed the world by doing the same thing. And I think this one, especially for entrepreneurs, is a big thing, because they're all trying to do something, become significant, and they lose that interaction, they lose those connections with people.
We need to know our why. We need to know our why. Like, my why is my family, my children. I went through such a struggle to get them. and now they're here, and I want to build a business that works, that revolves around them, so I can be there for them. You know, you have to keep your priorities and your vision and your why at the forefront of your mind, and let that drive you forward. It's so easy to lose focus and get your priorities wrong, especially when you're in survival mode, because you're just, you know, living day to day, surviving.
I agree, and I see from self-experience, like getting to the point of running businesses, to go to the point of doing it to prove a point. There's not much of a why there. It's just like, it's almost, that is the survival. I'm proving that I can keep doing this.
Exactly.
With serious detriment to my health.
Yeah.
How can some people start to cultivate their mindset? What are some hacks, or hacks, wrong word. What are some things that they can implement on a daily basis to help improve that mindset? Because we are just flooded with information, disinformation, negative information all the time. Like, what can people do to help their mindset?
Know, first of all, the power of the mind. Like, the mind is so powerful, and what you set your mind to and what you focus on is where your energy goes. So if you look, if you believe, for example, that the world is a positive place, what's going on in your subconscious mind is that you're going to be looking for the positive things. Whereas if you believe that the world is a negative place, or everybody's out to get each other, or all of that, then that's what your mind is going to focus on. So it's about knowing that what you focus on, you get more of. It's a bit like a social network algorithm. What you engage with, you're going to be shown more of. It's literally going on in your mind. So cultivate that mind that you want. Don't want a positive life, but expect it to happen. You create your own reality by being careful with your thoughts, focusing on what you have, well, not what you want, but focus on what you have now. When you feel grateful for what you've got now, you change the tone of your thoughts, and your thoughts change your feelings, and then your feelings change your actions. It's so powerful. Your subconscious mind is incredible, but we need to feed it with positivity and self-love, and all of the good stuff, because if we focus on negative, we're going to get more back of that.
It's so true, and it's so true. The mind does look, use that reticular activating system in your mind, looking for what you've programmed. Like, you know, you want to buy a red Ferrari, and what do you see all around the place? You see red Ferrari. So if you want to have positivity, you're absolutely right. And I suppose that's the first thing people should do in the day, isn't it? Like, don't jump on that social media, to get that positive stuff in there first.
Yeah, definitely. Every morning you wake up, you are a blank canvas. You don't wake up the same as you did yesterday. You choose how you feel. And I know that's hard when you're stuck in survival mode and you feel like you're waking up, like you can't face the day ahead. And because there's a lot of negative programs running in the subconscious mind, but it's actually true that you are a blank canvas. So when you know how your mind works, it empowers you to do things differently. And a part of what the work that I do is to help people by visualizing what they're going to be doing differently the next day, because they will be feeling better. That belief gets them to visualize themselves doing something differently. And your brain cannot tell the difference between real and imagination. So in effect, just prior to hypnosis, you're creating that real scenario in your mind, then having the hypnosis. And so you've literally experienced it in your brain. It doesn't know whether it's in your mind or in reality. So then the next day comes, and it's just almost like deja vu. You can just sit back and enjoy watching yourself doing that thing differently that you couldn't have seen yourself doing before. But there's no effort or willpower required, because you've already experienced it in your mind.
And it's so true. And this stuff isn't voodoo, is it? I mean, what was
No, not at all.
Is it the Japanese basketball study that was done, like, where they visualized?
Yes. Yeah.
Versus trained, and the people who visualized were actually performing better than those who were trained.
Or almost as well. But
almost as well.
Yeah. Or there's the prisoner of war, American prisoner of war in Vietnam. He was captured and put in solitary confinement for 7 years. He was a really good golfer. He wasn't a professional, but he was really, really good. And when he was released, he got invited to a charity golfing event, near his hometown. And everybody was absolutely astounded. His golfing abilities were virtually the same, even though he was sort of emaciated and not clearly having not played golf for 7 years. And they said, how is this possible? And he said, I played golf in my mind every single day for 7 years. and your brain can't tell the difference. It's incredible.
It's extraordinary. We just really should. There's so many countless stories. You shouldn't underestimate the power of the mind. Even in the Cold War, didn't they have? They had almost telepathy war between Russia and the States, like using the power of the mind to dictate and change how things are happening. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Oh, I love what I do so much. I love that when somebody comes and has like a discovery call with me, they've not decided they want to work with me, they just want to find out a bit more, whether they're right for the program, whatever. And they're telling me their problems, and I can see their future. If they decide to work with me, I can see what they're going to be like 3 months down the line. They talk about what they want to achieve, and I can absolutely see it happening because I've seen it time and time again. And it feels such a privilege to have people put their trust in me, and for them to come on the call every week and tell me what's changed, what's different, what's better, and just see them growing in confidence and their self-belief and happiness growing. It's just so fulfilling. I just love it so much.
I love the energy in your face and your voice, and your actions changed when you said that. So it's really true and really authentic. And I just hope people will contact you after this. I got an interesting question for you. How would the world be different if everybody did this work?
Oh, the world would be a much more different place. Not everybody needs to have hypnotherapy, but if everybody understood how the mind works, we'd be living such different lives. Because the problem is, we all know how to lead physically healthy lives, but nobody seems to know that your brain is designed for survival, and that we're primed for negativity, and that we can so easily get stuck in survival mode, suffering with stress and anxiety, and chronically wired with adrenaline through our systems, when it needn't be like that. I just wish everybody knew this stuff.
I'm interested. Do you struggle with it?
No, not at all. I'm so blessed with what I do, because your subconscious mind is listening to everything you think and say. So the incredible thing is, Tom, that every time I'm giving hypnotherapy, my mind is benefiting from it as well.
I love it.
So yeah, it's incredible. But I have suffered quite badly with anxiety in the past, and very, very much so stuck in survival mode, on my infertility journey and going through IVF. I didn't know about all of this then. I just somehow managed to get myself in a positive place before the last round of treatment. And looking back, I was in my intellectual mind by the end, and that's when things changed.
I love it. I love it. I've actually learned a lot today, and it's been really interesting for me. As I said at the start of the show, quite selfishly, it's something that I really, was honored that you came to ask to be on the show. What sort of parting bits of advice or wisdom would you maybe leave our audience with?
Parting bits of advice. Well, I have a free sleep hypnotherapy audio that people can download. If you're, I don't know if a lot of your audience are on Instagram, or I'll give you the direct link for your show notes if you want to. But if you're on Instagram, you can find me at Believe and Achieve with Jenna. Links in the bio to download a free sleep hypnotherapy audio. And anyone that works with me, actually in person, well, not in person, I work online, but one-to-one or whatever, they get their own bespoke audio. But the free version, I've had people tell me, get in contact and say they've had the best night's sleep they've had in 10 years, had a full night's sleep for the first time in years. Some amazing comments I've had just from the free audio. So yeah, definitely come and find that and download it, and follow me. You can learn a lot just by watching my videos. I'm on YouTube as well.
Amazing. Jenna, that's incredible. We'll definitely put the links to everything that you've done in the show notes, because I know people are going to get so much out of today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And I think I'm going to try that sleep thing tonight, see how I get on. Thank you ever so much for joining us on the show today. Really do appreciate your time and what you're doing for so many people. And I know that our small time together will change a lot of people's lives. So thank you.
No, thank you so much. That's great.